Gosh almighty, that was slow. I clicked on that button like 15 seconds ago. What's going on, guys? This is Gene Jensen. It is time for another Friday Night Live. Woo! All right. Hold on a second. That's later. What's going on, guys? I'm excited to be here. It's been a good week this week. A little bit of rain tonight today didn't allow us to finish building my back deck, but that's okay. I got a lot going on this week that I'm going to share with you guys, but goodness gracious. Okay. Oh, sorry. I just got a update, or just got an alert that I just started a live video. What's going on, Steve Potts? Cam, what's going on, man? He says, hey, Gene, I'm so grateful for your channel. I try to follow your directions as well as I can, but I just can't get any bites. Are there any tips you have? I can find fish, but not bass. Any tips? Bass like to hide inside stuff. If you're bank fishing, which I'm assuming you are, they like to hide inside or around laydowns, which are trees laying in the water, brush, grass, the outside deeper edge of grass. If you're walking along the bank and you have grass and there's a point where it stops, they like to swim back and forth along there and ambush their bait fish. I got a video called How to Catch Your First Fish. Go watch it. It's a really good rig. You will get bites, and you just got to set the hook hard. The inside of a bass's mouth is like shoe leather. So anyway, sorry. We'll get to questions here in just a minute. What's going on, Michael McDonald? Tyler Sexton, how you doing, my brother? He's here every week. Big donator. I love you, man. That's awesome. What's up, Gene? It's from Garrett Hinkle. Hey, Jim. Brandon, what's going on? Everybody hit the thumbs up as you're coming on. Let's see. All right. So let me tell you about this week. Sunday night, the time has been changed. So last week I said it was from 5 to 8, but from 2 to 5, I'm going head to head against MLF Pro Dave Lefebvre, coming off a tough loss at Chickamauga right up the road from us. But he's going to be fishing in a kayak on one of his lakes up in Pennsylvania. I'm going to be fishing in a kayak on a lake just north of me that I've only been on a couple of times, but I did catch a pretty good one there the last cast yesterday. So I left it alone today. I might leave it alone tomorrow, and then Sunday I'm going to go hammer them. But it's a 3-hour live tournament. It's on the Angler Facebook page. So ANGLR. You know, a little button I usually have on my hat, but it's pinned. It's in my truck right now, and I forgot to put it on. That's who's putting it on. It's going to be live. I'm going to be hopefully catching fish. I don't know a whole lot about this lake. I spent about 6 hours the other day idling around and looking at the fish finder, getting as much as I could, information as I could, and I did manage to catch that big one and plus about 3 or 4 really teeny tiny ones. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Now, that's a good question. I'm going to answer this. Is Gene glad? Nope, that's the wrong one. Holy cow! Is Gene glad to catch a thing? Somebody asked me about how long my hat lasts, my Georgia hat lasts, and it totally disappeared on me. But it all depends. These 47 hats don't last near as long as the Zypher hats did, but Zypher doesn't make Georgia hats anymore. These last probably 2 months, month and a half before the sun gets to them. These things, you get them wet and they start dripping pink. So I don't like the dye in them. But anyway, so I'm going to do a giveaway. And I just came up with this idea about an hour before I started this deal. My website doesn't know about it, but I don't care. This is what we're going to do. It's going to be called Stuck on Fluke. And that's going to be the hashtag. But anyway, we're going to go with what you're going to do is you're going to go on my website, flukemaster.com. Let me put it down here for you guys who have a hard time listening. Flukemaster.com. Just order a $4 sticker. That's all it is. Order a $4 sticker. When you get it, stick it on your truck, kayak, boat, whatever you want to stick it on, tackle box, whatever. take a picture of it. It's his Instagram because it's easier for me to go and search it and find it. But post it to Instagram, hashtag stuck on fluke. And at the end of July, I'm going to pick a winner for a $50 gift certificate. And I'm going to do this every month until next spring. And the winner of each month is going to be put in for a fishing trip with me. So that's like one in what? Maybe 8 or 9 people, 10 at the most. So you have a 1 out of 10 chance if you win this one. So you go to flukemaster.com, buy a sticker, get the sticker, stick it on something, take a picture of it, put it on Instagram, hashtag stuck on fluke. And the rest of it, we'll go from there. What do you think? Do you like that idea? I think it'd be pretty cool. I love taking people fishing. The guy that won the 811 deal, we had to postpone the trip. It was going to be the last week, but he got called back into work, so we've got to postpone it till the fall. So you'll see a video about that later this fall, but it's going to be fun. So let's have a little bit of fun. If you don't have Instagram, if you don't use Instagram, I would suggest if you want to enter this, you're going to have to do Instagram, just because it's so much easier for me to search that stuck on fluke hashtag on Instagram and pick a winner. I don't know any other way of doing it quickly and easily. So anyway, let's have a little bit of fun. I don't know if you guys remember what Photobucket was, but I closed my Photobucket account this last or day before yesterday, and I pulled all the old pictures off of it. And I'm telling you, I got some ancient pictures. You guys are going to laugh at a lot of these because I was a lot skinnier and a lot younger. But there's some pretty awesome pictures, and I just wanted to share them with you. So I'm just going to go through them really quick and just kind of explain to you what they are. I'm excited. Let me see if I can find the right. All right, so here we go. This one right here was caught spawning in July on the Savannah River just below the dam. The water coming out of the Savannah River was about 63 degrees in July, and she was spawning. The healthiest muscle-bound fish that I've ever seen. The next one, here's me in my old bank fishing days. You guys don't laugh. I know it's real grainy too. This was back before cell phones took pictures. So it's a 5-pounder I caught before I learned how to hold a big fish. We're going to go through those really quick. There's some good ones on there. Here's another one, another good one. Man, oh man, the pixelization. I think this was like a 5 megapixel camera. We'll skip that one. This one's really cool. This is my 18-year-old son, Jake. And these are all shell cracker. This one that's in my left hand. This one is just shy of, or just a little over 4 pounds, and this one's 3 1/4. They both would have been the Savannah River record had I known, but instead I cut them up and I ate them. So that really sucked. This is the first 5-pound bass I ever caught. That one right there, or one over 5 pounds. And again, before I learned how to hold a big fish. But that's the first 5-pound bass I ever, or a fish over 5 pounds that I had ever caught. This one is me and Ryan. You guys remember Ryan? This is a tournament we fished on Lake Varner. That fish right there is 9 pounds, 8 ounce, or 9.98 pounds. So that was the one that was almost 10 pounds. And it was a 25-pound sack, and we beat second place by 12 pounds, I think, 12 or 13 pounds. So that was a good day. Another bank fishing fish. That's a pretty one right there. Just going to skim through these. This is the last day I ever fished with my father. This was a picture. I was walking down this stream. This is Cooper's Creek in North Georgia. And I got a feeling that it was going to be the last day I ever fished with my dad. So I turned around and started taking pictures of him. And this is my favorite picture of him. And I fished this stretch about 2 weeks ago, and I almost lost it. It was a lot of fun to fish it again. So this was the day I guided Joe Gibbs, if you guys know who that is. Race car owner, so on and so forth. And then these were the two fish. These are the two biggest fish he ever caught up to that point. Yes, I was his guide, but it was a private lake, and we were killing them. This is the first fish I ever entered into a kayak tournament. 20.5 inches. in my old Perception Sport 12-foot. Man, that thing hurt my back. I didn't fish much longer after that. All right, let's get into the bluegill. This is just a regular size bluegill at Kingfisher. This was a 2-pound, 2-ounce bluegill. Giant, absolute giant. But that's the best #1 bluegill lake in the world that I'm fishing and I'm guiding. Here's another one I caught on the fly rod. About 2 pounds. That one's probably a little shy of 2 pounds, probably 1 3/4 pounds. Here's 2 2-pounders. I'm going to skim through these real quick. We're almost done. Here's Flip Pallet. This is a famous fly fisherman. He came out to fish with us. I love him. He is an awesome dude. It was amazing to meet him. I've been watching him for my whole life. There's another 2-pounder. That might be one of the other ones where I was double fisting them. This is a 3-pound, 1-ounce bluegill that I did not catch. Dr. Bruce Condello caught it. 3 pounds, 1 ounce. Looked like he hit a stump. Ran face first straight into a stump. Giant. And that's it. I thought that was pretty cool. I was just a little bit of reminiscing. But I hope I didn't bore you to death. Giant fish. I loved them. So my wife's on there. Hey, Mrs. Tyler Sexton, thanks for the $15. Says, hey, Gene, been using a split shot rig and have been catching them anywhere from 1 ounce to 5 pounds. Been losing some also due to zebra mussels. Ooh, and thick brush. Would a 15-inch braid leader be okay? I cut braid more than I cut fluorocarbon when I'm in zebra mussels. They're just so sharp. I try to go to fluorocarbon. You might want to bump up, maybe if you can, bump to a 12-pound test. But I find that braid cuts worse than in zebra mussels. So, all right, guys, let's jump to questions. I know I probably bored you, but I just want to show you some of that stuff. So, those of you guys who are just joining us, we're doing a giveaway. You go on my website, buy a sticker. When you get it, stick it on something, take a picture of it, put it on Instagram, hashtag #StuckOnFluke. Tag me too if you want to. And at the end of July, I'm picking a winner for a $50 gift card to my website. And I'm going to do that every month until next spring. And I'm going to take all the winners from all the months, and I'm going to throw them into a pot and pick one to go on a fishing trip with me. And it's probably going to be we'll say it's a 1 day. It might be a 2 day because I don't like just fishing 1 day. So, all right. Let's see. Do you have a frog recommendation if I'm using a medium heavy rod and 50-pound braid? If you're using a medium heavy rod, woo. The softest frog, now it doesn't last very long, but the softest frog that I know of that you could actually use a medium heavy rod with, you may have a hard time getting the thick hooks in there, but the Booyah Pad Crasher is really, really soft. The 13 Fishing Trash Pan is a little bit harder to crush, but the hooks are sharper and they're already bent out at a good angle to be able to get a good hook set. So those are the two that I would recommend. So, do you keep your old crusty hats or now? Yeah, I got them. My wife drives me nuts. They're sitting in the closet. I used to give them away. And what I would do is I had a bunch that had my logo on the back. Zypher had put my logo on the back. I didn't sell them, but I'd give them away to fans who were in the hospital. I'd go visit fans, and then I'd take it off and sign it and so on and so forth, and give it to kids that were in the hospital. And those went. I had 12 of those. I think I have one more left. So. Oh my goodness. Platinum Penguin. What does it say? Oh, I have a $100 Cabela's gift card burning a hole in my pocket. Going to pick up a new rod and reel tomorrow, and brand recommendations overall, looking at medium heavy spinning. I don't think Bass Pro carries 13 rods. I haven't looked in a long time, but I don't think they do. Rod and reel, get a combo. Get one of the Bass Pro Shops combos that you can afford. The rod's usually decent. The reel's usually pretty good. So let's see. Do you have any ideas for connecting the Fish Finder power cable to a Nocqua battery? Do you use a soldering gun? I'm trying to think of how the Nocqua battery. Okay. The Nocqua battery has a plug, and it should come with a pigtail, which is another plug that plugs into it that has 2 wires. And then I put them together using a butt connector is all I do. If it doesn't come with those, get on Aqua and order one. Basically, it's just the male or the female, the opposite plug of the one that's coming off the battery. Best 13 all around reel and what size rod to repair it with. The rod depends on what techniques you're going to use it for. The best all around reel is the Concept A. The new Concept A is daggum bulletproof. It's a tank. I love it. I can't wait some of you guys to get your hands on it. But anyway, Concept A is what I use for everything. A best all-around gear ratio is a 7:3 to 1. You can slow down, you can speed up, and it's just a good reel, and it's a good gear ratio. Let's see. Michael Moon says, "Why don't you like my 24-hour idea for an angler tournament?" 24 hours is a long time to fish. I do 18 and I'm dead. Right now I do 16 and I'm done for the day. So 24 hours, I might wait till the last 5 hours to go out and go fishing. Let's see. Hey, Gene, I know your nephew Dallin. My family is good friends from church. Yeah, dude, Dallin, he's an awesome dude. I don't know, did he show you the big fish that he caught the other day? This is my nephew. I took him out fishing. He was having a hard time figuring things out. So I took him out and he caught this one right here. Get all that stuff off of there. I don't know if I can focus. There it is. Big old giant one. So that's his new personal best. But Dallin's a great kid, man. Is the red shad color good for any water clarity? It seems to be. I don't fish it much in really, really muddy water. So like less than 8-inch visibility or around 6-inch visibility, I wouldn't fish it. But a foot to any clearer, I bet it would be good in most of that. I use red shad in I got mostly clear water, but I'm sure it would be good. I fish a Tequila Sunrise in heavily stained water, and it works just fine. So, any tips for picking apart grass mats with a frog? A frog is a great. I mean, you can pick the whole thing apart with a frog because it comes over top of it. But I like to start on the outside edge and just kind of work the outside edge a little bit, and then work my way in like 2-foot increments. And figure out when the fish bites, I try to figure out how deep that water is underneath the pad where that fish is. And a lot of times there'll be a bunch of them right at that depth. So, oops, somebody had a good question and it just skipped past me. There we go. I have a good question. What advice would you give to a young bank angler like me? Also, thank you for doing this live stream. I'm going to kind of go through what I've done in a video about how to fish or how to find fish while bank fishing or how to find fish on a small pond. Start with the deepest water. If you're on a lake and you're in a pocket or you're wherever you're fishing in your area, find where that bank comes closest to the deepest water. And I'm thinking of a good video that I want to do here shortly, and I'm not going to give any details, but that's going to help you do that. But look along the bank, and you want to find the steepest bank that goes in without getting so steep that it's dangerous. And you want to start there and work your way away from it. And use finesse stuff to find fish, like a Ned rig or a Mojo rig or something like that, a split shot rig, something where you're going to get bites even from bluegill, and you're looking for the most life. Another tip is to look along the bank. You see a lot of minnows, and you'll walk along, and all of a sudden you won't see any minnows, or vice versa. You're sitting around, you're looking at the bank, and there's no minnows. Go somewhere else. So, and just keep working the bank until you find life. Once you find life, you're gonna find bass somewhere in that area because they've got to eat the little bait fish, the little minnows, the bluegill, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, that's the best advice I can give you. I do it in every little small lake in every area that I bank fish. I head to the deep water first, and I work my way away from it. What is your favorite bait to fish during the summertime? A worm, a ribbon tail worm. I don't know what it is about it. but it gets bites, and I'll fish it, and it's hard for me to go to a creature bait. I've tried a creature bait over the last few weeks, never done any good with it. Always done better with a large ribbon tail worm. 13's got this new one. Oh gosh almighty. I can't remember the name of it, and I just remembered it like 20 minutes ago. But anyway, it's got a new one that's a ribbon tail. It works pretty good. I like a Zoom Old Monster, a Mag 2, that kind of stuff. So where was I at Altoona this morning? I was not. I was here working on my back porch. Michael Moon. So Michael Moon recommended that we fish 24 hours. I don't know what face I made, but it probably wasn't a good one. So he says when he read that, your face was priceless. Oh, why do I keep losing bass on jerkbaits? Are hook sets different with jerkbaits? There's a couple of reasons. One, they're easy to throw anyway. You might have too stiff of a rod. I like a medium, moderate, or some type of a rod that has a lot of flex, a lot of bend into it, and you pull the hooks into the fish. So it's not a jerk. You're not jerking it hard. You're just pulling it, and it tighten. You're pulling the line tight, and you're tightening it up past the past that point, and you'll set the hook. So make sure your hooks are sharp. I don't know what kind of jerk baits you're using, but most jerk baits these days have really good hooks. So I'm looking for a fishing kayak, but don't want to spend too much. Any good brands that are cheap, but also stable enough for fishing. I'm not sure about the inexpensive ones. This is what I recommend. Get on like Facebook and go to the Kayak Bass Fishing Facebook page and find people in your area, or go to a local page that has your people in your area. Find people in your area that have a kayak that you can afford, basically, and go and get with them. See, you'd be amazed how many kayak fishermen will let you jump in their kayak for a few minutes and just try it out. No, they don't have a problem with it. If you're interested in it, that's what I do. I let people paddle mine all the time. And I know a lot of people that do. Just jump in and try them out. But if you can't, buy the widest one that you can. Okay. And so whichever one you can afford, make sure it's at least 32 inches wide, maybe wider. I don't know how big you are. So 32 to 36 is probably a safe bet. So tips for using cheap sonar for offshore fishing. Appreciate all the great work. Cheap sonar, inexpensive sonar, they work great. The biggest thing is what's in between your ears. Can you identify what's on there, and can you fish it? When I'm offshore, I'm looking for hard bottoms, like on the top of a point or on the edge of a drop. I'm looking for depth changes. My most important feature that I use is a map. And I love using a map. And it's so important to me that is probably the pickiest thing how do I want to say this? It's probably the most picky I am about anything on the fishing on a fish finder. I am the most picky about a map. I want to have a good mapping system, good mapping software, because that's how you find your drops and stuff like that. So Drake, hey Fluke, love your bank fishing videos. Thanks, man. I wish there was more opportunity for me to bank fish, because I would be making a ton more of those videos. There's not a whole lot here that I can fish the way I want to fish, if you understand what I'm saying. I love to move the bank, and the very limited places there are to bank fish that are public around here are lined up with people every day, and I don't want to mess with people that are bluegill fishing, so I don't do it. I got 2 private lakes that I can fish, and that's it. And that's what sucks about southern states, is there's all the small ponds are privately owned. So dang, my dinner's getting to me. I ate chicken tonight. It shouldn't be giving me that hard of a time. Have any flipping baits who would recommend? I am currently using a Pit Boss and caught my PB at 5 pounds. Any kind of the beaver style baits, which are the ones that kind of look, they're pointed at the end or a little bit rounded at the end, and they come down and they're shaped like this. They're shaped like kind of an oval, sorta, and has little tails and appendages. The Invader from 13 Fishing, the Rage Bug is another one of my favorites. That's probably got to be my favorite. Just any kind of little small little flipping bait. Man, it is hot up in here. Hold on a second. Let me turn the fan on. I'm sweating to death. My gosh. All right. I don't know why it's so stinking hot. How was fishing with Chad this week? Stephen Guthrie. So I went fishing with Chad Hoover. He came down and fished my lake that I've been catching all the giants on. No wind. And when there's no wind on a lake that has no current, no water coming in and out per se, there is no fishing. So we caught I think I caught 2. Christy caught 1. Chad didn't catch anything. Yeah, it was pretty rough. So yeah. Goodness. Somebody donated $5 and I missed them. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on a second. Bill Price, thanks for the $5, man. You guys that donate, I really appreciate it. I really do. You don't have to do that, but I really appreciate the donation. I wanted to get a 7.3, 7'6" rod for heavy covered jigs. Longest rod I have is 7 foot. Medium heavy rods. Should I try a heavy action rod and get another medium or get another medium heavy? For heavy cover and jigs, I like a 7.4 heavy. Is what I like for most jigs and heavy cover. It's a really good, most 7.4 rods, 13 makes some good ones. I've had some good ones from Dobbins. They have enough tip to be a good pitching rod. You don't have to flip it all the time. You can pitch it, you can make good cast, but a 7.4 heavy is what I would recommend. And you'll find it be the best jig rod you've ever had. I love it. Oh, I always have 2 or 3 of them now. So, is a wacky rig good year round? It mostly, except for wintertime, depending on your water temperature. When the water temperature gets below 50 degrees, it usually is not that good. So, let's see. Oh, my boy, David Fields. What's going on, man? How's Augusta? He said, what's up, homie? Hitting the Savannah River in the AM. It's too hot for the lake. Dude, when I lived on the Savannah River, I lived in Bridlewood, right on Betty's Branch. That's where I fished all summer long. And when I took people, I had to tell them to put a hoodie on, grab a hoodie or a jacket, because running up and down that river is cold. I'm talking, and for you guys who saw that fish, that picture of that fish I showed earlier, the one that I caught below the Clarks Hill Dam on the Savannah River, that's the reason. It's 60-something degrees in the summertime, and it's fun fishing, but it's nice and cool. So I like summertime fishing there. So I'll agree, man. Thanks for the $20, my brother. So, Mateo Romano, does this happen every Friday? Almost every Friday. The only time I wouldn't is my wife's birthday, date night, when she says, hey, let's go out to eat. I might run one a little late, or if I'm on vacation, which is going to happen in a few weeks. So, but yeah, every Friday night, if I can get a signal, I'm there. So today I got an inflatable small boat at Walmart for $20 or $19, and went out to the lake with a rod and some gear. Good, man. That's awesome, Spencer. That worries me to death, though. I don't. Walmart $20 boat. Be careful. Don't take your PFD off. Don't take your life jacket off. Make sure you don't. One hook in that boat and you're done. Can you T-rig a fluke bait? Yes, you can. I do it a lot, or I used to do it a lot. I haven't done it in a long time. So what kind of sunglasses do you use? I use Blue Otter polarized is what I use. I found them at the Bassmasters Classic. They are the nicest glasses I have ever worn. And you guys know me. I keep 8 pairs of sunglasses in my truck. Oakleys, Costas, Nines. I have a ton of different types of sunglasses. Those are the best ones. The Blue Otter are the best ones I've ever put on. They're so clear. They got Zeiss lenses. They're not sponsored. I'm not sponsored by them yet, but you never know. But yeah, dude, I love them. So what do you think of the new chatterbait Z-Man just dropped? I haven't looked at it. New jackhammer and the snake eyes. I saw a picture of it, but I was flying through some stuff and I didn't get a chance to really pay attention to it. So what I'm excited about, I'm going to tout 13, but they've got some new crankbaits out. There's one, and I can't remember what it's called. It's got a metal bill, and it goes back and forth like and it makes a noise like a chatterbait, but it's a square bill. Ricky says it catches a crap out of them, and Ricky is their designer. So I can't wait to get my hands on some. I'm going down to Tampa this next week. I may have to come home with a few of them in my pocket without saying anything. The other thing is this swim bait that's got like it's like a, what do they call them? A spy bait. It's got a little blade on the front, little propeller, and it's got a paddle tail on the back. It's sick looking. I don't know if it catches fish, but it sure caught me. Chad got outfished by his wife. Yes, he did. Where should I focus on when kayak fishing on Lake Sinclair? I fish from a Little John boat. There's a spot that I like to fish on Sinclair, and I've only been there a few times, but I always catch fish there. And it's where up the river, anyway. And it has two bridges that cross real close. And if I remember correctly, it may not have been two bridges, but it was a bridge, and then there was a big cove, and I can't remember the name of it. But that big cove that was right next to the bridge on the river, I always caught fish in the mouth of that all the way to the back. Summertime, they'll be out in the mouth, though. In the back, it was real shallow. So, man, I wish Ryan was here. He knows Sinclair like the back of his hand. David Brown says, how do you do your Carolina rig? I do it just fine. No, go watch one of my videos on Carolina rig, but I'm going to tell you how I rig it. I rig it with I got a long cylindrical tungsten weight up front. I don't like the little egg weights. They get hung up in the brush too much and the rocks. I may or may not put a bead, but I use what's called Carolina keepers, which are little cylindrical pieces of plastic that you pinch with the pliers, and they open up a little slit in the middle, and you can slide your line through. And I use 2 of those for a 1/2 ounce and heavier. But anyway, so you can adjust your leader length without having to retie a knot. I just pinch and slide with my pliers. And then a regular offset worm hook. The way I fish it is I try to keep that weight on the bottom. I drag it, and I drag it, and I drag it. If I'm fishing grass, I lift straight up. If I'm fishing dead bare bottom, I'm dragging to the side. Most important thing is the hook set. When you get bit, you want to sweep set low. So for something happens, if you set over your head, something happens with that weight. That weight will literally pull the bait out of the fish's mouth if you set straight up over your head. So Wally Outdoor says, been watching you smash them on the month longs. Yeah, the month. Woo! June was a special month for me. KBF has a monthly challenge tournament where you sign up before the month starts, and it's the first 21 days of the month, and you can fish anywhere in your state as long as it's public access, and it's your best 5 for the month. And my best 5 this month was 118.5 inches. Let me put that in pounds. My biggest one was 9.5 pounds. My smallest one was almost 7. I had a 40-pound plus sack if it was a big boy tournament. But that was for the whole 21 days. Giants. And I had a good time doing it, man. Oh, gosh almighty. I don't know how much I won. I don't care. I just wanted to beat Clint Henderson. Him and I fished the same lake. So he came in second with 111 inches. Hey, buddy, what do you think about the new 13 Fishing Shadow Spin? I was just talking about it. I love it. I don't have one in my hand, though. You know me. I'm not going to say it's the greatest thing since cheese and biscuits until I've had a chance to use one. How do you feel about pre-rig soft plastic worms, the old icons? I don't fish them. I've looked at them. I'm like, what would I do with those? And I understand they come with hooks and line and everything else. Nope. I like to rig my own worms. I'm kind of picky about how that happens. So, oh yeah, the crankbait's called the Jibber Jabber. They got to come up with some easier names for this old dumb country boy to remember. Goodness gracious. Hey Gene, thank you for your how-to Texas rig video. Caught my first 2-pound bass, or first 2 bass this evening on a Texas rig. Again, thank you. Congratulations, Jeff Wood. That's awesome, man. That is one of my favorite bites, is a Texas rig. And it's just like a thunk, and then you set the hook, and if it's a big one, it just stops. You know, I did that yesterday when I caught that big one on my last cast at that lake I'm fishing on Sunday. Just I had the rod in my left hand and I threw it out to my left side and I drug it and I popped it over a rock and I felt thunk and I went with one hand. I went whoa. That was a 6-pound bass. That was a lot of fun. What types of lures, baits, rigs would you use for largemouth bass fishing while on the bank of a river? Northern New England area, I have success in ponds and lakes, but not so far in the rivers. Largemouth don't like to hang in current. They like to be in slack current or just outside of the current. So they're pretty lazy. They're not like smallmouth. Smallmouth don't mind being in the current. Largemouth can't. They stay off. So find your slack water, and that's probably your issue, is you're not fishing the still water that's around the edges and in eddies and that kind of stuff. I like to throw moving baits in rivers too. Small little paddle tail swim baits, spinner baits, larger swim baits, depending on what kind of what size fish are in there. If you find some real slack water, then go to a shaky head or something like that, something small. So, but look for that slack water. Do you prefer to fish a jerk bait on a spinning rod or a casting rod? A casting rod. Only because I can make more casts with a casting rod than I can with a spinning rod. But if you're not comfortable with casting light lures with a casting rod, use a spinning rod. So, oh, this is an easy one. Jason, come on, give me a hard question. When the spotted bass go deep on Lanier, what technique do you like the best? A drop shot. I love to get over top of those 18, 20, 25 foot brush piles and drop a drop shot down and watch my fish finder. But another way that I like to do it every once in a while is I'll line up with a deep brush pile, throw a jig a long ways out past it, let it sink all the way to the bottom, which takes forever, and then bring it up to the brush pile and just pop it out of that brush pile so it jumps straight up in the air and it falls back down into it. And if those bass are suspended above it, then it's money. It's so much. Then it's just it'll start to sink down. All of a sudden, you'll see your line go whoop, and you just set the hook. So the jabberjaw. Okay. All right. So that was the name. I was reading somebody else's comment. I fish a few ponds in Chicago. They are pressured, and many people do politically incorrect things like kill the young fish and eat them. Any tips? It's not a bad thing to kill the young fish in a lake. The young fish are what eat most of the bait before it gets big enough for a big bass or a larger fish to eat it and it actually do something to his weight and do something to his size. So in small ponds, keeping small fish is not a bad thing. Keeping every fish you catch, well, that's a different story. But the way I fish heavily pressured ponds is I go really, really small and I fish really, really slow. So like a small little shaky head or drop shot or finesse style stuff with light line, fluorocarbon less than 8 pounds. And that's how I end up doing it. The lake I fish every day, the big one the one I've been catching all the big fish on, that is a heavily pressured lake. It is a public fishing area. It has anywhere from 5 to 25 boats on it at a time. You never know. You never know day to day. And for me, I go offshore in my kayak and I find offshore structure and cover that those fish are hanging on, and I can usually get bit. So watch that live deal this weekend with Dave Lefebvre on Sunday I'll mention it before I get off of here. But watch it this weekend and you'll see me offshore fishing. And he's going to be fishing. He said some of his fish are still spawning up in Ohio. We're fishing 88-degree water. It's summertime here, so I'm way off. So let's see. Todd A. Bryan, new to Georgia and Lake Lanier, kayak fishing this weekend and curious where to put in and the best bait to use. I have no clue what things are called on Lake Lanier. I fish it maybe once a year. I used to fish it a lot more, but I don't know what boat ramps are called. I usually put in on the south side, halfway up the lake, and I usually fish around that area. There's a marina across from it. Of course, there's marinas all over that stinking lake. The biggest thing is stay in a pocket. If it's a weekend, there's some crazy folks on Lanier driving some big boats. stay out of the main lake and get into these deeper pockets and these deeper coves and just stay back in there and fish. That's a dangerous lake, even in my size 18-foot Alumacraft. I don't like to fish on the weekends out there. There are some dumb people that have a boat. So I wish they had a dang boating license here in Georgia and required everyone to have one. Let's see. Hanging with Howard. What's going on, Howard? He says, all I catch is smaller largemouth in the summer. Where are the big mamas? They are usually offshore on the end of points, on hard bottom, on drops. They find their favorite little spot to sit there and wait for something to swim by, and they jump up and eat it and go back down to that spot. It's typically what it is. So, when pond and bank fishing, should you bounce around a bunch of ponds or take more time on one? Take more time on one or two and get to know them very, very well. I did grow up bank fishing on a place called Charlie Elliott Outdoor Center. It's also a Clybell public fishing area or something like that. Anyway, it's got 22 lakes, and I knew a bunch of them, but that I usually stayed on one or two during the day, and I just fished them really, really hard. So that's what I would recommend. What types of hooks do you use when you're wacky rigging? I use a Cahill style hook. I think it's pronounced or spelled Kahile or something else. It's basically it's a hook that's kind of got a long sweep to it before it turns around to the point. But it's called a Cahill. But I get the smallest ones, or I get a similar. There's one that there's a few of those on Tackle Warehouse that you'll find that are shaped like that are really small, and those are the ones I tend to use. You get better hookups with them. I don't like fishing a wacky rig because you lose a lot of fish. That the way the fish bite a wacky rig, they ball up the worm, and it gets in the way of being able to set a hook. So, I have a pond that I fish. How much should I fish without harming anything? Honestly, that all depends on a survey. You know what I would do, and this comes from a biologist, one of the best biologists in the country. He's a real good friend of mine, Bob Lusk, is catch 100 fish, weigh and measure every single fish, and keep a list of the weight and the length. And get a median, find out where your small fish are and where your medium-sized fish are and where your big fish are. And then what you do is you just start taking out those small fish, whether it be 12 inches and shorter or 14 inches and shorter. That all depends on what your survey is. And then start taking out everything under a certain length. And you'll get bigger and bigger fish. It's hard to overfish a small pond. But it can be done. I mean, I imagine it could. But the biggest thing is if you want big fish, then you start taking out the little fish that are going to eat all the food before the big fish get to it. So, let's see. Sam H, man, thanks for the $5. He says, would it be possible to come up to RMPFA, Rocky Mountain PFA, and shadow you and learn a little? You can. I probably won't fish it for a little while because I've got a lot of traveling to do. But if you're up there and you see me, I don't care if somebody bumps up against me, especially on that lake. I'm still going to catch the fish. But I'd love to show you something, man, anytime. Come right on up and say hi and sit and watch me and ask questions. I don't mind. See, Fishoff says, I love that name, man. That's awesome. Watched your video on Topo Maps, looking to apply that tomorrow on the Butler chain. Yeah, man, I need to make another one. I really do. But yeah, that's a good old video that really has helped a lot of people. It's so important to know how to read a topo map. I fish a pond that is very pressured, at least 5 people there anytime I go. Any tips to catch more bass? Just downsize and use lighter line and fish a lot slower. You'll notice, you watch people fishing and they fish really, really fast. And if you slow way down, a lot of times you can catch more fish. So, Chris, Boat license. I know you've driven in Atlanta, and they have driver's licenses. Yeah, you got a point. You got a point. I grew up driving through Atlanta, so there you go. Sean Lay, Cahill style, Kahle is the style. Look at that size, that kind of hook, but you want a small one. You don't want as big as a Cahill hook is like a bait hook, like a live bait hook, and they get pretty big. So, Randy Reeves, hey Gene, moved back to Georgia from North Dakota, but hold on a second. Let me change a few things. I still got these banners running, don't I? There we go. Hey Gene, moved back to Georgia from North Dakota, but have not had much luck fishing since I have moved back. Any tips for Lake Altoona? Ooh, the Dead Sea. I've got a few spots I love. See, when I got out of the Army, I lived in my in-laws' basement for 10 months, and I would borrow my father-in-law's boat and go to Altoona. They live in Cartersville. And so I'd go to Altoona all the time. And that's how I learned. That's where I learned how to run a boat on a lake. My favorite places are up Stamp Creek and in Altoona Pass. Altoona Pass is the best when you have the most boat traffic coming through, and it's dangerous. It gets a lot of waves because it's just a narrow little place, and it's got all those big boats coming through. But that stirs up the water and stirs up the bait fish and gets the bass active. You're fishing for spotted bass, so you don't have to slow down as much as you do for largemouth. They're pretty aggressive. This time of the year, throw a wacky rig Senko along the bluff walls. Anywhere you see steep walls, they'll be hanging out along those bluff walls. That's the best I know for Altoona. It is known as the Dead Sea, has been for many, many years, and the reason is it is hard to fish. So, let's see. Grant Waters says, when are you going to head back to Jasper County again and fish for some shoal bass? The big ones are hitting topwater right now. I don't have any plans to anytime soon. That would be fun. For you guys who don't know what shoal bass is, take a spotted bass and a smallmouth and have a baby. And it is a very aggressive, but that's what it looks like. That's what it acts like. It's neither. It's its own species, and it lives in the shoals or in the rapids in Georgia and some in Florida and a little bit in Alabama. Giants, you get them 20, 21, 22 inches long, and that's like an equivalent of a 12-pound bass. They fight great, and you're in current in a kayak, and you're running the rapids fighting fish. It's just a ball. So let's see. I'm heading down to KBF Nationals from Wisconsin and not sure what to expect on Guntersville. Any tips? I'm fishing in that tournament. I have no clue what I'm thinking or what I'm going to do. Typically that time of the year, the frog bite's pretty good. The punch and bite's good. There's going to be hydrilla. There's going to be eelgrass. There's going to be floating vegetation that's broken off. There might be offshore. They might be inshore. You never know. But the biggest thing is to understand the grass is everything that time of the year. So good luck, man. Just don't beat me. That's all I got to say. I want to win that stinking thing. I was so ready to win it in the spring, and then COVID hit, and so much for that crap. Jeez. Sean Lay, man, thanks for the $20, dude. You're awesome. He said, Gene, hearing you always motivates me to go fish more and more. Keep being a great role model. And Dad went looking at the SS-127 this weekend, realized 2 of them may not fit on the SUV roof rack. What are non-trailer alternatives? The best alternative that I have is get a wider roof rack. I can't remember how long my beams are. Oh man. But I've got the Yakima, and they're long, and I can fit 2 kayaks up there. I fit 2 SS-127s. I even can fit 2 107s, and they're a little wider. So that's what I would recommend if you got a roof racket. Another thing is you can put in the back of your truck, you can put one down and one slightly on its side, and then have a bed extender coming off the back. So that's the options. But yeah, the Yakima rack, the wide one, can fit 2 of them. So the trick is getting them strapped down. That's a little bit of a challenge. It can be done though. See, I have 115 horsepower. Is 115 horsepower enough motor to be in a tournament? I see a lot of large motors and feel a little intimidated around them. My friend, I used to fish the Wednesday night pot tournaments on Lake Oconee in a 14-foot John boat with an 8 horsepower tiller on the back and a trolling motor on the front. And I won 2 of them, came in the top 5 in like 6 of them. And I used to watch big giant boats. So we had 2 of them, or one guy that had an FLW wrapped boat fishing the same tournaments. And I didn't care. It's all in your head, man. I'd drop my trolling motor and I'd fish. And I'd fish my heart out with a shaky head and a crankbait and a buzzbait and do pretty good. So it doesn't matter. Just have a live well in it so you can bring your fish in. I had to make one out of a cooler. And dude, man, I used to tick a lot of guys off. It was a lot of fun. So, oops. Doug Stubbs, good question. Todd Perkins, when do you use shaky head versus Carolina versus Ned versus Wacky Rig? Oh, man. Carolina rig I use when I'm dragging large pieces of structure. So when I say structure, I mean changes in the bottom or something that's part of the bottom, like a point, like a ledge, like something under the water. I need it to get down. I need it to stay in contact with the bottom, and I just drag it. Shaky head, I love to fish a shaky head around brush and when it's a tough bite. Never very deep, always pretty shallow. Ned rig, I fish that when I can't catch a fish and I've got to catch something. It's when I throw a Ned rig. Wacky rig, I only fish it in the spring when the bass move up underneath docks and getting ready to spawn. I hate fishing a wacky rig, hate it with a passion because I lose too many fish on it. And so I would rather fish something else that's going to be less of a problem with the hookup ratio. So I don't know how you guys do it. I just can't. I've tried everything under the sun and I still lose a bunch of fish. So, any plans on getting some West Coast California bass action? Not right now. I'd love to go do a collab video with Greg Blanchard. We'll just wait till all this bullcrap from COVID blows over and it's a little bit more politically correct to run around and travel. I refuse to wear a mask. I totally refuse because I worked at a hospital for 20 years. I know what a mask does and I know what it doesn't do. So I refuse to wear one and I'm just fine. So have I ever fished Carter's Lake? I have about 3 times. One time in the dead of the winter with a float and fly with Mike Buca, and the other 2 times I got skunked. So it's a tough one. So, all right, it just jumped way ahead. No kidding, you fit 2 127s on a Yakima. Yeah, on the Yakima. I wish I could remember the width of them, but it was the larger ones. I remember. I think it was. I want to say 60 inches, but I maybe more than that. It might be 64 inches. But it's a tight fit. But you can strap them up there. So Joni, what's up, man? Hey, is your restaurant open? That's all I want to know, man. You've been busy this week. They got all the FLW guys up there. So, man, oh man, fishing's been great. My best 5 this past month or this month have gone so far a little over 40 pounds. I had 116 and a half inches for the KBF state challenge, man. Dude, I still owe you a fishing trip. It's coming. Let's not do it this summer, though. Well, we might be able to do it this summer. Let's see. I'm starting to dig a farm pond next week in North Alabama. It would be almost an acre. I plan to stock it with bass. Do you have any advice? Depth, cover, shape, species, etc. You're not going to like what I have to say. You don't want to stock bass yet. The first thing you want to do is you want to put cover in the lake that will protect your bait fish, will protect little baby fish so they can get big enough to become a good meal for a bass. What I recommend is you go buy yourself about 50 plastic milk crates from Walmart or eBay or somewhere, and you're going to put them on the bottom in about 3 to 8 foot of water, 3 to 5 foot of water, upside down with a rock tied to the top of them so they stay down, and put them in a group all around in 1 or 2 areas. and that's great cover for bait fish. For the first 2 years, you only want to have bluegill. Don't stock bass in them for 2 years. You want to give that bait fish population a chance to get bigger and to start reproducing and making food for when you put the bass in there. Then stock your bass. Don't buy fingerlings, buy larger ones. You'd be amazed. It only takes a few larger ones, and within a few years, you get, this is a long process. That's what I recommend, though, is, or you can do whatever is legal in your state, relocate if it's legal, and so on and so forth. But you want to have a food base for your bass before you put the bass in the lake. So, all right, I'm going to answer a couple more questions, but before I get to those questions, I'm doing a giveaway. Go to my website, flukemaster.com, buy a sticker, put that, when you get the sticker, you can buy more stuff there too. It ain't going to hurt my feelings. After you get a stick, when you get a sticker, stick it on your truck, your boat, your kayak, something. It'd be cool if it was all fishing related. Hold it up while you're holding a big giant bass. I'm good with that too. But post it on Instagram, hashtag stuck on fluke. This hashtag right here, stuck on fluke. And at the end of the month, I'm going to search that hashtag on the last day of the month, and I'm going to pick a winner. So it's going to be the last day of the month in July, and I'm going to pick a winner, and that person's going to get a $50 gift certificate to my website. Then the winners for each month, I'm going to do that consecutively all the way through to next spring. And from those winners, I'm going to draw out of a hat a name, and I'm going to go fishing with that guy. I'm going to get in my truck, hook up my boat, grab 2 kayaks. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go to your house, knock on your door, and I'm going to take you fishing on your lake. So the only thing is, if you live in another country, I can't do it. The boat does not go. I can't tow a boat across the river or across the ocean. Well, I ain't going to do it. So anyway, there you go. All right, back to some questions. Let's see. When would you use a medium heavy fast spinning rod, and what rigs are able to be used on it? I recommend a medium heavy fast to anybody who cannot cast a bait caster who wants to fish, because it's a good all around Texas rig, crankbait, that kind of stuff rod. For somebody who's on a budget and can't cast a bait caster. The reason I would use it, I don't know. If I need a medium heavy fast, I'm going with a bait caster. It's just holds heavier line better and the whole 9 yards. So I'm not sure. I'd have to think about it. I've got one. I don't think I've ever used it. I think it's sitting in my barn. So do you recommend fishing after a heavy rain? If it's summertime and the heavy rain was a cool rain, was cold, yes. Go to the lake. If it's like here in the South, we have 88-degree water temperature. If the rain comes through, I'm going to go out and go fishing after it, because a lot of that rain hitting the water will oxygenate that shallow water that has no oxygen in it, and the bass will move a little bit shallower. It might cool off the water a few degrees. You never know. And so that kind of changes things. If it's a thunderstorm, no. The lightning and the thunder will shut a bite down in a heartbeat most of the time. And so that's what that's what I recommend you do. I don't like thunderstorms because it messes up my fishing. So ACC Outdoors TV says Indiana is one of the hardest places to fish. Have you ever fished that? I have fished. Have I fished in Indiana? I've deer hunted in Indiana. I don't think I've ever fished there. Illinois I have, but not Indiana. So what is my favorite topwater rod? For things like spooks and open water topwater baits and stuff like that, I like a medium fast action bait caster. For frogs, a short, I like a 6'5" or 6'8" heavy action spinning rod or bait caster, heavy bait caster. For buzz baits, I like a medium heavy moderate. And so it just all depends on the top water and how big it is and stuff like that. So let's see. when buying a rod and reel, does drag rating matter? It really matters when you're going to put a lot of force to that fish. If you're fishing thick cover with 25-pound fluorocarbon or 50, 60-pound braid, and you don't want that hook set to slip, then yes, it does. I would recommend getting any reel that you buy, get one that has at least 22 pounds of drag or more, just because it gives you a good ballpark. And if you've got to tighten it down on them and really set the hook and do something crazy with them, then you've got the power. Most of the reels up until I think the Revo was the first one that had, the Gen 1 Revo was the first one that had a lot of drag. It used to be like 8 pounds was all anybody ever had on a bait caster. And I think Shimano still got a bunch of them that are 8 to 12 pounds. But I know the new ones coming out from 13 have the Bulldog drag, which is like 25 pounds or something like that. Some stupid number, 24, 25 pounds of drag. If you tighten them down and test them, though, you'll find about 31, 32 pounds of drag. And so, yeah, they're pretty crazy. So, all right, last question is a dandy. Oh, I love this one. Justin Camage says, hey, Gene, why, or may I ask, why are you called Fluke Master? I hardly ever see you throwing a fluke. I throw one all the time. I've just done so many videos about a fluke. There's not much left to do. I might do another one, but it's going to sound just like the one I did before. In the early 2000s, I started getting online and learning about bass fishing, and they had bass fishing forums, and you had to come up with a name. Well, 2002, 2003, everybody was calling themselves something master. You got Ed Bassmaster, famous YouTuber, started on the same website I started on with the name, named his YouTube channel Ed Bassmaster, and it stuck. Oh, this is $15 dono. Tyler, thanks for the 15 bucks. I'll get to your question in just a second. I just saw that. Dadgummit. It's not my last question. But anyway, so I came up with the name Fluke Master. I was learning how to fish a fluke. I wanted to get more confidence in it. It was more of a motivational thing. I thought it would go away. It never did. It stuck. My original name for my YouTube channel was The Fishing Partner. And everybody, all my buddies on Bass Resource said, you're stupid. Go back to Fluke Master. So I changed it. And so it stuck. All right, Tyler Sexton. Thanks for the 15 bucks, man. I am sorry I missed your comment. I don't know how I did it. It says, hey, Gene, been using a split shot rig and have been catching them anywhere from one. Oh, you already asked that question. Maybe that's why it's still on there. I'm a retard. Or I'm dumb. Sorry. Didn't mean to offend anybody. I have, anyway. Oh, let's see. Where do you donate? Todd, it's on YouTube is the donation. It's called Super Chat. You get on YouTube, and then you can click this little money symbol down at the bottom and go from there. And so, but you can donate there. I got a couple of guys who donate straight to me on my PayPal, which is my email address. So, but yeah, either one of those. But I really appreciate you guys. I love you. I'm sorry I didn't get to all the questions. It's always really, really tough. But stay tuned. Tune in this Sunday. Cheer me on Facebook Live on the Angler Facebook page. ANGLR is their Facebook page. From 2 to 5 Eastern. It's me against Dave Lefebvre, MLF Pro. Him and I are good friends. We've fished together. We fished a tournament together and came in second a couple of years ago. And we love talking and ragging on each other. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But thanks for watching. I really appreciate you. Like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water, go out and catch some fish, and have a great day. We'll see you.